This would have been 2009. I'm working at collegehumor.com with my very good friend and now race team partner, Jordan Hall. And I guess to back up, my dad has a friend who worked with him at the University of Minnesota for years, Jesse Rosen. And after he had left the university, he had gone, he lived around the country. He's kind of a, crazy, not crazy, he's just a really smart guy, but gets himself involved in the most crazy stuff. And he ends up getting a job with the DNC. And he works on the original Obama-Biden campaign. And after that, gets a job as part of the advance team for Obama and Joe Biden. So basically, he goes to cities, sets up routes, figures out where the locations, the speeches, the events, whatever's got to happen, runs all those logistics with obviously the team. And he calls me out of the blue one day and goes, "Hey, you drive a lot in New York City, huh?" I was like, "Oh yeah, every day." He's like, I got a gig if you're interested." He's like, "Would you and maybe a friend want to come and drive in Joe Biden's motorcade? He's going to be in town next Tuesday." And I was like, drive him? He's like, "We not drive him, but in the motorcade, there's vans for staff and cars and all this stuff. We hire local drivers for a lot of this stuff." I was like, "Well, there's no reason to say no. I absolutely am going to do that." So I talked Jordan into this, who doesn't believe me at the beginning that this is going to happen. I'm like, "Nope, this is totally legit. We're going to go. I have no idea what to expect other than we are to get in these vehicles and we are to drive them safely and deliver these very important people to their destination. And I figure if anybody can do that safely, it's us." The day arrives, we're in our suits. We're, whatever suit I owned at the time. We look presentable for 26-year-olds in Brooklyn. And we arrive at the Hilton on east side of Manhattan. Everybody's there. It's all a buzz. Vans are parked. Few sedans are parked, but it doesn't look, it's not totally put together. We get inside. We're going to have a debrief. And they introduce us to Captain Reynolds of the Secret Service, who is no joke. He probably has camouflage tattoos all over his body and then a nice suit. He's a very serious ex-military. And he kind of gives us the rundown. He's like, "So here's how we do this. We run 2 limousines. You will never know where the vice president is, neither will anybody else. He is surrounded on both sides by 2 sets of black SUVs. Those people will kill anyone who comes within several feet of these SUVs. Behind them is the staff in the sedans. You all will be in the vans. Behind them, you are flanked on the back by another armed SUV. You do not talk to those guys. They are working all the time." "Yes, sir. Yes, sir." He knew we were rookies. He's like, "You rookies, you've never done this before. You are 4 feet from the vehicle ahead of you. Animal, mineral, or vegetable comes between you and the vehicle in front of you. You are to not stop. You run that thing or person over. We will deal with what remains." "Yes, sir." Of course, I'm like, people? So we get in the car. Our day's about to begin. Everything comes. The 2 limos pull up. These guys come. We see the back of their SUV. It is the most assault rifles I've ever seen in one place outside of like a gun show. These guys are full flak gear, ready to go. They sweep in. A tent goes over both SUVs and connects then to this tent that's covering the entrance to the hotel, and you don't see what happens. But clearly, Vice President gets into one of them, and we're off. And we're thinking, we're like, okay, so first event is under the Brooklyn Bridge. I'm like, okay, so I'll be, east side, 30 minutes. I have his press secretary and her staff in my van. The guy in charge is like, he's like, "Oh, no. 8. Actually took about 6. They're NYPD swarms the motorcade. Motorcycles are blocking everything everywhere we go. It is the best driving in Manhattan I've ever done. It's like the city is yours. We're on the FDR. They've blocked the uptown, the northbound side, and we are on the southbound side, and it is just the 20 vehicles and nobody else. And you've got the river to your left and the city to your right, and you're just alone on the FDR. It's just amazing. We get to our first stop. Everything's cool. We kind of like, the adrenaline's going because we're just like, oh my God, this is right. Because they're just like, no, 4 feet. And we're like, okay, like this is serious. This is great. But then, the event happens and we guys kind of get to hang out at the vans and, we're talking and We go to another site. He does a speech, and we get to everybody in the motorcade gets to come meet him and shake his hand. And the super nicest guy you ever wanted to meet. He literally will just stop. The Secret Service, I don't even know how you protect this man. He's supposed to be getting in his car. He'll just walk over and talk to somebody in the crowd. Like, these kids all want to take a picture? Oh, great. Oh, you want to talk about something, sir? Great, no problem. Of course, Mr. President, he doesn't care about it. He's going to be Joe Biden. So the day goes pretty uneventfully. There's a couple things like, they've had to push people back, and there's a couple like minor, assault rifles coming out of windows incidents where it happens all the time where they're just, oh, this person on a bike is going to try and get through the barricades because it's New York and I don't care who's coming, I'm going through. And then they found out real quick that I'm not going through. I'm not going to be shot today. So we get to our last event is at Cipriani on 42nd Street. And it's an old bank. If you've ever been there, it's, it's gorgeous old building, huge restaurant now. It's a big event. Sesame Street's there. We all get to go in, have dinner. It's great. It's longer. We're there for about an hour and a half. And, the call comes over the radio. Okay, we're going to be wheels up in 5 minutes. And then we're off to the airport. Great. We get out. We get to our van. Everybody kind of comes in. I am sort of towards the back at this point, and Jordan is right behind me. Everyone starts filing out, getting in the van, and his press secretary's not there. She's obviously supposed to be in my van. Everyone's calling her, texting. Everyone's on the radio, can't find her. Like, people have gone back in, can't find her. They load up the limos and we're out. And I'm like, do we wait? He's like, no, go. They call Jordan's car and they're like, you wait. They put everybody from his van in my van so that everyone would make it to the airport. And we go. And they tell him to wait. Still no one can find her. The guy immediately picks up the phone and starts chartering a flight. It's going to be like $40,000 for her to fly chartered from LaGuardia to Washington, D.C. right then. It's like, well, she has to be in Washington. There's no other way. So we're going to charter this flight. So he's literally booking this, and I hear over the radio, okay, we got her, we're coming. But this is probably 2 minutes later. So we're in the motorcade. Traffic is blocked. Jordan is back, and traffic is not being blocked anymore because everybody has left with the motorcade. So he has one Secret Service agent behind him, and that is it. And he takes off. And somehow he starts making his way to the FDR through what is then like extra heavy Manhattan traffic. And he feels invincible because he's had all this day of driving around and armed guards and everything. And he's just like, I'm getting this woman to this airport, whether it kills us or not. So he just starts getting on sidewalks, starts getting around people, running up on the shoulder, which there is no shoulder on any of these things in Manhattan. But he's up against the wall, gets to the FDR and finds a little bit of like clearing in the traffic. And he says he just pins it to the floor. And they get him a cop to kind of try and move people out of the way, but he says the cop isn't driving fast enough and they're not going to make it. So he just passes the cop on the on-ramp to the Triborough Bridge, goes through the tolls at triple digits, with back when there's no easy pass at the time, so it's just a legit toll booth. Boom, flies through it, doesn't stop at the gate, cop behind him, lights blaring, so it looks like he's running from the police. Secret Service SUV behind that. He goes 110, whatever this van will do. He's like on the limiter, the entire Grand Central Parkway. Meanwhile, we're hearing all this in the radio. I think we're going to make it. Like, don't book the flight yet. They're like, well, it's on standby, blah, blah, blah. We're pulling into LaGuardia. And Air Force Two is sitting there. It's foggy. It looks like something out of a movie. And you drive right out onto the LaGuardia tarmac, which you don't get to do. So we're pulling around this gate and we're all heading towards the thing. And in my rear view mirror at 1,000,000 miles an hour, I just see two headlights through the gate around. He goes way wide out of the tarmac, screams up behind me. The cop comes 30 seconds later, pulls in behind him, Secret Service, and he gets out. And this woman looks like she has just seen a ghost. She is pale white, like clearly been gripping the seat, and is just like, thank you, thank you, thank you. She just gets on the plane. And I'm like, how the hell did you do that? And he's like, well, we drove really fast. And the Secret Service agent comes up to him, leaves her SUV, and she just comes up to him and goes, that was some very impressive driving. And then disappears onto the airplane. And we are left by ourselves on LaGuardia tarmac with these like 3 vans that we have to go return. And we just watch it fly off. Nobody's there with us anymore. We have no armed guards. It's just silent. We're just standing there in this moment of awe where just Air Force 2 disappears. And Jordan's he's so proud of himself. He's saved the American taxpayers $40,000.
Did you know that you can search Facebook Marketplace nationally? AutoTempest has a tool for that, but there's a couple tricks that you need to know. By now we all know that AutoTempest is the most powerful way to shop for your next car because they allow you to compile the results from all the major listing sites into one place. But after you perform one of their nationwide searches, scroll down to these links and click on the Facebook button. Now, once you've set your results to nationwide, you can follow their instructions and it will allow you to not just limit your search to 100 or 500 miles like Facebook lets you do through their site or their mobile app, but they'll let you instantly open tabs to the entire country and help you to find exactly the car that you're looking for. I just used it to find the cheapest Ferrari GTC4 Lusso on the planet, and I traded the CarTrek R8 for it. You never know where the perfect car for your search is hiding, but we do know that AutoTempest is the best way to track it down.